Hello again and welcome to Catholic Social Teaching 101, our fourth program of a long series with as many episodes as it takes for us to cover 7 principles of Catholic social thought. First, I'd like to begin by thanking all the people at KNXT who make this program possible. There are certain people that created the set. In particular, that would be Nick and his team. Then there's people who created the design of the graphics that we use. That's Nick and some of his team. Nick does a lot, but so does his team. Then we've got our videographers and our camera operators. Joe Maiden today and Greg Knudsen and Joe Silva have been helping us film these programs. And then there were the clips that you saw edited so nicely by Blake Wong. It's a team effort, and we want to thank everyone at KNXT for all they do to bring this program to you. On that note, we also have a stellar panel, and I'd like them, who all come to us from Right to Life of Central California, to tell us something about themselves and maybe their church life and their family life, if they'd like to share any detail. Karla.
Hi, my name is Karla Gunner Blank, and my husband and I just relocated to Fresno, California, just a couple months ago from Colorado. And we really felt led to be here, and it really makes sense now why we're in Fresno and being a part of Right to Life of Central California, and also my husband and us being a part of St. Paul's Armenian Episcopal Church. We feel very blessed to be here, and we love Fresno. We call it No Snow Fresno. No Snow Fresno.
You're right about that so far. Marcos.
Yes. And again, my name is Marcos Espinoza. I'm a communications director here at Right to Life. And a little bit about me, I have 4 kids. I have one on the way, due in October. So we're pretty excited about that. It'll be number 5, the tiebreaker. We have 2 and 2, so we don't know, boy, girl, whatever God blesses us with, we're really happy with. 1 wife.
Good.
And I belong to the beautiful parish of St. Joachim's in Madera. It's the heart of California, and I've been doing youth ministry in that parish since 1997. So
nice. You began when you were like 10, I think.
I was about 10.
About 10. Yes. Marianne.
Hi, everybody. Again, Marianne Cameron Angelillo, and I'm a volunteer with Right to Life, sorry. And I wanted to say, my husband and I built our family through adoption. So I'm also an adoptive mom. I've been on one other side of the issue, and that has really kind of led me here to help.
Well, I am glad that we have 3 panelists all having a commitment to Right to Life of Central California, and also, obviously, Right to Life, that first principle of Catholic social thinking, the right to life and the dignity of the human person. Now, another group that has a tremendous commitment to life is Focus on the Family. And they gave us permission, actually, for the next clip. It was through their legal department. They were able to think about loaning this to us for our broadcast today. I want to thank Focus on the Family. This next 4 minutes is a beautiful testament to how it is that right to life is something that crosses the borders of many religions, and especially among Christians, this is a principle that we share. Let's see this clip on human dignity from Focus on the Family.
God created mankind in his own image. He created them male and female in the image of God.
Like a set of new glasses that helps us see the world with greater clarity.
Seeing people through God's eyes changes how we respond to them.
From the formation of a child's first tiny cell to life's final breath, all life has dignity and value.
Because each and every one of us is made in the image of God.
And that is why, when we talk about being pro-life, it's not just about a political issue.
It's a worldview. It's a life view. It's a way of looking at each
human life that transcends culture, class, race,
age, and opinion, knowing that we are all uniquely created in the image of God.
The sanctity of human life is deeply rooted in Scripture and modeled
through the life of Jesus Christ, who said,
"Whatever you did for the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me."
When we begin to see others as God sees them, we're moved to care more deeply about those created in His image, and we will live each day in a way that honors our Creator.
We won't see the Scriptures as mere words, but as commands to express His heart through our actions.
Commands like speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves,
and ensure justice for those being crushed, or love your neighbor as yourself.
The sanctity of human life speaks to ancient questions that span all of time and every culture.
Questions like, who is God? Who am I? Who is my neighbor?
Jesus responded to those questions with the story of the Good Samaritan, who saw another man who was broken and bleeding.
And instead of looking the other way as others had, he stopped
and cared for that man, even at great cost to himself.
Jesus said, go and do likewise.
Don't be silent in the face of injustice, but be a voice
for those who cannot speak for themselves.
Let us shine a light on practices that distort human dignity,
like human trafficking and the cycle of poverty that limits God-given potential and dreams.
Make sacrifices to meet the needs of those dying preventable deaths because they lack food, medicine, and clean water.
Embrace those with special needs as a special reflection of the image of our Creator God.
Let us see people as God sees them.
Seeing their needs and having mercy on them, because every person is made in the image of God.
So, reach out to orphans in distant lands, or the foster child in our own backyard,
who is waiting, hoping, and praying for a family to call their own.
May we not pass judgment on the woman facing an unexpected pregnancy,
but surround her with support, helping her to
see the child growing within her as a unique person with a life as valuable as her own.
Let us care for the widow in distress and loneliness.
And let us befriend those in prison.
Let us rejoice in the image of God as expressed through various skin colors and ethnic traditions,
refusing to tolerate racist attitudes that mock the one that created us.
Let us choose to see those who disagree with us as God sees them, treating them with respect and dignity,
while helping them to open their eyes to see the beauty and value of life.
That is what it means to be pro-life.
This is why we need to be a voice.
That was obviously the longest of the clips we've played so far, and it had the chance then to be covering more ground, which it really did. It actually reminded us of other issues that are so wrapped up with this first principle. It didn't move far, but it reminded us of other persons outside of the unborn that are also needing our love and care. At the website of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, that usccb.org that I've sent you to before, it's going to list the issues that need to be covered when one covers this first principle. Here's some of those words: abortion, euthanasia, human cloning, destruction of human embryos for research, torture, unjust war, use of the death penalty, the prevention of genocide, attacks against non-combatants, racism, and to overcome poverty and suffering. All of these commitments are pro-life commitments. All of this is our challenge. So in this section right now, we've got a few minutes left. What are some of the ways that you would like to share that image from Focus on the Family, what did it lead you to think about your own work, your own commitments? Where would you like to go based on that?
Well, it makes me want to say, with Focus on the Family, when it talks about be a voice, one of the passions that I have is making sure that you are not judgmental in situations with people, and that silence is truly the second, third, fourth killer in these situations. It's not having an opportunity and a safe platform for women and men to share what has happened in their lives or what is going on currently in their lives. When they just learn about an unplanned pregnancy, how do they handle that situation? What do they do? And then they operate in fear. And it's that silence that continues to be a killer. So be a voice, and to be a support to others is so critical in embracing life.
Yes, I think that's very right. I mean, I think we definitely need to do something. I think being pro-life, or just being a Christian, being a Catholic, it's not just something you call yourself. It's not just a pretty name. I can't tell people, well, I'm pro-life. Okay, so what do you do? Hey, I'm pro-life. So okay, so what do you do? It's like, I'm pro-life. You know, it's like it's common sense. You know, if I tell somebody that I'm a famous soccer player, and I say, hey, don't forget to give my autograph after the show. I'm a famous soccer player. They're like, okay, well, what team do you play on? Oh, I don't play on a team. Who do you practice? I don't practice. I've never played soccer in my life. It's like, what? You said you were a soccer player. It's like, oh, I just like how it sounds. I think that being pro-life or being anything requires some action. You know, and that's what I think was really beautiful about this film, that is letting us know we need to do something. We need to be a voice. And right now, I know one of the biggest things that we can do, and I know we can all do it, is pray. You know, this is, after all, it is a spiritual battle. You know, all these pro-life issues, at the very core of them, you know, it's a spiritual battle that we're fighting, and we're going to beat it with spiritual weapons, which is prayer. I think one of the biggest things that we can do, and we must be doing at all times, is praying, at least doing that. And I really like that call to action, and I definitely agree with that.
Me too. I thought it was a beautiful call to action, and it reminded me of, in our Catholic faith, the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. And we are called to feed the hungry, visit the imprisoned, visit the lonely, care for the sick, bury our dead. You know, all the other things that we do. We are not, if you're a pro-life person, you are doing these things anyway. You're not just concerned about the unborn. It's just the base of you and I spoke before, it's like an inverted pyramid, and the life issue is just right on the fulcrum there. Everything else balances on that, but of course you're doing these other things. And I think that we all know that. It's just, it's a nice reminder, just the call to action. I love that video. It was really nice.
And on that note, we'll take our break, but I really want to echo what I did hear from our panel. To be challenged to speak up, to be challenged to actually put your good thoughts into action, to actually commit to something and not just profess it secretly, like, I'm a secret believer. Well, what is that? As James says in the letter, where's your works? What are you doing about it? Having faith, having good thoughts and goodwill will not turn the tide. So on that note, when we are coming back, we're going to show you again another very personal story that's going to kind of personalize the issue that we're talking about, the right to life and the dignity of the human person. Stay tuned. We'll take our break right now. Yeah, they'll fix up all the sound.
KNXT, the nation's only full-powered broadcast station, owned and operated by a Catholic diocese in the U.S. and streaming live on the internet at KNXT.tv. Need your support to keep the message of the good news alive. Just go to KNXT.tv, click on the Make a Financial Gift, go to Donate, and fill out your one-time or monthly offering under PayPal. It's just that easy. Your donation makes it possible for KNXT, Catholic Television, to continue its ministry by celebrating the Mass and proclaiming the gospel. Thank you from KNXT.
Welcome back to our fourth program on Catholic social teaching. We're in the middle now of a really deep discussion on that first principle of Catholic social thinking about the right to life, the dignity of the human person. So we've seen a lot, we've seen some nice visual. My question to the panel would be, when you really want to get down from big principles, global realities, when push comes to shove, what is it that becomes the principle that most of all we need to keep in mind about something as important as the right to life and dignity of the human person? What would be that principle that's going to help us deal with it on a personal level?
I'll start. I think that we have to listen intently to the person to whom we are ministering, and really the two are in a conversation with each other, and we're each ministering to each other. So hearing someone's pain, being present to them, listening to them, and offering help as you can. There are so many resources out there. I just want to say our phone number, 229-BABY, at the Right to Life. We can direct you to the help that you need. If we don't have it, we can tell you where to find it. So I think being present in that moment to that person and hearing their story and knowing what their pain was, why they made the choice of abortion, or how they're grappling with that issue. And then on the other, I was thinking about how it becomes a problem when we start treating people as commodities. When that's taking somebody's dignity away, and there's a whole issue with that, like all the embryo destruction and that kind of research. We could go on and on, but I will defer to my friends.
One thing about this commodity, it does let us bring up Pope Francis, which
Yes.
I haven't mentioned him, which is very surprising. I'll say why. The Pope has been very, very, very clear in many, many of his teachings and actions of the respect for the human person and the right to life. And as recently as when he went to Lesbos and took back on the plane 12 Syrian refugees, 6 children, 3 Muslim families. What more proof of a person who loves human life and sees that each person is special? Speaking of special, Marcos, help us see how in your work you've been able to encounter a one-on-one, and how that became for you such a beautiful ministry that you could share with us now on film.
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys are very right. You know, we can't be so just focused on just the unborn and forget about the human being that's standing right in front of us. We need to minister to everybody, be pro-life across the board. And you know, one of the things that I've done through the sidewalk counseling ministry is being able to talk to a lot of these women outside the abortion clinics. And a specific woman that I met, her name is Linda, and she is a pro-life woman that came out to pray with us during the 40 Days for Life campaign. And she just shared with me why she was out there, and she shared with me a little bit of her story. And we said, wow, you know, this is something that people need to hear. And at that point, she wasn't really ready to share. But I told her, you know, when you're ready to share, give me a call, because this is something that people need to hear.
Wow.
And we'll help people out. And, you know, and just meeting her there at 40 Days for Life outside the abortion clinic, praying, it was just a first step for God to help her share her story. And she has an amazing testimony that has already helped a lot of women. She's presented at Fresno State and a lot of groups that have invited her. And this is just a couple weeks that God's been working in her life to share her story. So I think we can take a look at that.
Let's see Linda sharing her own personal journey. And thanks to Marcos and Rafael, we have this clip.
Running was preparing me for a life that I was going to have. You know, we make choices and we don't always know where they're going to lead. I'm Linda Talia. I went to Bullard High School in Fresno. I ran track in high school, and then I was running track at Fresno City College. I was good enough to have the school record. I was in the paper, I was on TV, I was athlete of the week and athlete of the month, and well on my way to having a successful college track and cross-country career. I was being recruited by different four-year schools, and I'd gotten a letter from a four-year school letting me know that if all went well, that I would have a full scholarship. In my sophomore year, I got pregnant, and I had to make a decision. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought my life was over. And it was. My life as it was over. And I just was angry and frustrated, and I was mad at myself for not paying attention to the opportunities that I had, and for just, making quick decisions and making the wrong choices. Some people talked about God, and I thought, what kind of God is this that would just let something like this happen? And I didn't realize that that kind of God was the kind of God who had a better plan. And so I was definitely contemplating abortion. In fact, I was pretty sure I was going to have an abortion. Lots of people were advising to go ahead and have an abortion, including coaches and other athletes, and I thought in my mind that was the easiest, best way to go. My parents were the ones who said, before you do anything, you should go to see a counselor. We ended up choosing Crisis Pregnancy Center rather than Planned Parenthood. And so we ended up going into a counseling session with one of their volunteer counselors, and we were going back and forth about the reasons why I should or should not have an abortion. And I was telling her that I wanted to go to college, and I had a scholarship, and I had my life mapped out. I was going to do photography, and I was going to, do whatever I was thinking at the time. And at the end, I think we all were thinking, gosh, this doesn't look like a time for someone to have a baby. And she said one thing. She said, just when you think all the walls are closing in, God will shine the light. And that's where I changed my mind. And I walked out the door, and suddenly I decided that I was going to have a baby, and it just went like that. It was completely clear and certain that that was the right thing to do. If someone were in my situation, I think that I would simply give them a bigger picture. The way that you feel today is not the way that you're going to feel in the future, and I have never met anyone who's had an abortion and has not been regretful in some way. I don't have any guilt or regrets about my decision, and it's taken a long time for me to come to terms with this was my life, and it's good. I mean, I have 4 beautiful daughters, and all 4 of them are more successful or will be more successful than I am. I have a husband who has stood by me since day one, and I'm able to look at them and say, yes, I lived not just for you, but because of you, and life has been good.
I don't know what to say myself. It's such a beautiful testimony of grace in a very hard moment. I wonder if those that work so much in this area wanted to take a chance to share what they saw in Linda, what they've seen in others, and how their own mission of Right for Life is just enfleshed in Linda and her family.
Well, I think definitely speaks to me in a lot of ways of just the power of someone just being there outside of that clinic. I mean, she was lucky enough that she found it in the phone book. I think God put that in her mind, in her eyes, or it just happened where she pretty much found Crisis Pregnancy Center. But most people, all they think about is Planned Parenthood, which will tell you the total opposite. So just the power of somebody being out there in Planned Parenthood, just giving you a brochure and guiding you in the right direction. I mean, that's so powerful. Where now you can go to a place where they're going to offer you the other side and offer you some hope, and say, hey, this is not the end of the world. This is the other choice that you actually have. And I mean, just her being there and actually in the Crisis Pregnancy Center and given that choice with just those few words, it just changed everything. Just the power of the simplicity of that. God takes that simplicity and takes it and turns it into something amazing.
Marianne.
I have to be honest, in my pro-life world, I have not encountered very many women before their decision. I have mostly encountered women who have chosen to abort and have had a lot of ramifications, negative ramifications from that. For whatever reason, God puts me in their life after. As recently as October, I was at a dry cleaner's, and I was dressed up, and a gal said, "Oh, yeah, just come from work?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a volunteer." I said, "But yeah, recently I've been working." "Oh, where do you work?" "Oh, I work at a nonprofit." You know, it wasn't like wearing it on my sleeve. And she said, "Well, which nonprofit?" She persisted, and I said, "Well, it's actually Right to Life of Central California." And there was nobody else in there magically, and she started bawling, just the tears, and she said, "I had an abortion 21 years ago, and I just recently figured out what I did."
Wow.
She said, after I watched, because now we're in the age of social media, like I was talking about on a prior show. We have ultrasound now. We have all that. So now she knows what she's done. So I've worked in the healing. I said, there's hope. God forgives you. There's no sin that is unforgivable.
30 seconds, Karla.
Well, and to tag on what Marianne said, one of the reasons I'm working with Right to Life is that I had an abortion 22 years ago. And it is a process of different things that happen in your life that change it forever. But because of God's grace and asking for forgiveness, you can go on with your life in a very positive way. And I look at the beautiful things that God has given my family. I'm now a stepmom. I was never able to have children after that abortion. And I also got breast cancer because of that. I'm so thankful to God for his mercy and grace, and that there is life after an abortion, and a very happy life. So.
Thank you, Karla, for sharing that. We will be back next time, and we'll continue this topic. We've really done more than scratch the surface, but we haven't covered the ground entirely. We'll be back again. Till then, God bless.